them down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine socially distanced radio program and podcast known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'.
Hi, Mom.
Welcome to show number 194. We are definitely halfway to 200.
We're at least halfway to 200
We're getting
right
there.
now.
We're getting there. So, Smokin' and Toastin' is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Today on the program, we right a great wrong, Ian. This is something that should have been done so long ago, and I'm embarrassed that it's taken us 194 shows for me to actually email Lennie Ambrose at St. Arnold and go, hey, we've never had you on the show. Would you like to come on?
Wait a second. Hold on. Let me get this straight. You already know this guy?
Yeah, I've known Lennie since well before
So you
Smokin' and Toastin' ever began.
You had an inn at St. Arnold, and you waited till 194 episodes?
I'm going to take the full blame for this. I totally am.
194 is a special number, though, obviously.
It is. Now, we've probably talked about St. Arnold.
Yes.
More than probably any other brewery. We've had, pretty much everything that we see that's new that you released, we've grabbed and tasted at one time or another. Mm-hmm. We're both kind of fanboys, to be totally honest. And it's maybe I just felt like we were covering it. No, that's not a good excuse.
Was it last week we had the BB25 on?
What was that?
The Bishop's Barrel 25.
Oh, it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we did the Bishop's Barrel 25. So we'll talk about all of those things. I want to give everybody a bit of a primer on St. Arnold because St. Arnold is the oldest craft brewery in Texas, and Texas is a big state. So to be the first, the oldest, isn't that right, Lennie? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The oldest in Texas. So that's kind of a big deal, and we'll talk about that a little bit as the program goes on. This is Craft Beer Month, so it is actually perfect timing. See how I'm trying to justify having them on this week? Yeah.
Keep going. You're almost there.
Okay, good. And we're going to taste some tequila, the Tequila Mi Agave Añejo from Jalisco, Mexico. Where else? And it's not this week, but Friday of next week is National Tequila Day. So I'm thinking, Ian, and we have to put this together. Thank you for changing the sign. That's good. We have to put this together during the week, but if all goes as planned, I think we're going to do a Reposado blind taste test on next week's show.
That sounds fun.
So that will be very fun. There's drinking news, of course, on the way. We have, I think, a really good one for you today. There will be a photo accompaniment. And we have a few things to talk about in the world of cigars and spirits and craft beer. There have been a series of fake Instagram accounts set up to try and scam the cigar community. We'll report on that for you. And a report that I can share with you about the percentage of Cuban cigars in the United States that are not Cuban cigars at all.
That only say they're Cuban cigars?
Well, yeah, somebody says they're Cuban cigars anyway. And Johnny Walker is going to be sold in paper bottles starting next year. So we'll tell you all about that.
I don't know what that means. That's weird.
That is very weird. It seems to me that paper would, I guess milk cartons are paper technically, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be that kind of paper so that it wouldn't, leak out all over the place. But that's going to be kind of.
Yeah, but if you drop a milk carton,
Yeah, you're in trouble. I would hate to.
Of course, don't drop a glass bottle either, I guess.
Yeah,
6 to 1, half dozen.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's why plastic.
They just put it in cans.
Yeah. Well, you're the can guy.
I like cans.
You're the can guy, and we'll get to that question with Lennie a little bit later because he's a can craft beer guy. And I'm totally the bottle craft beer guy. So
will you not buy it if it's in a can?
No, I'll buy it. I'll buy it because there's plenty of them that only come in.
Yeah.
But like you guys, every once in a while, I'll be in the store and you'll have something, Art Car or something else, and it's available in both bottles and cans. And I'm like, oh, thank you, St. Arnold. I'm getting bottles. So it's, but I like my beer really cold, and I know you're not supposed to do that either. You're supposed to,
there are no rules.
See, that's what I like about you guys.
Yeah,
I remember reading this on the St. Arnold website years ago, well before we started this show. I remember I was going on because I think I was trying to figure out what the calorie count was in Alyssa.
That's a mistake.
Yeah, and well, and I thought the way you said it was on the website, at least back then. I don't know if it still says this, but at least back then it was perfect. It said something like, "As for calories,
yeah,
we feel you should just really concentrate on how much you're enjoying the beer."
Yes.
It's like, oh, good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer. So a lot to talk about, and Lennie has brought some things for us to taste, and it's going to be. I think it should be a good show. It's certainly a show that's overdue. So thank you for joining us for it, Lennie, and we are excited about getting to the tasting here in a few moments. Ian, as the pandemic thing continues, I don't know if they're going to lock the city back down or not. We're out of Houston, although the show's heard everywhere, but we're out of Houston, Texas, and there's some talk that we could lock everything back down again, which would make I don't know how we would handle that. When the first lockdown happened in our city, we did about 5-6 weeks of shows on Skype, and then as things loosened up a little bit, we were like, well, we can be socially distanced in the studio properly, so we should try that. And even if there's a mask ordinance in place for our show, it's easy enough because you're excluded from the mask ordinance if you are eating or drinking, and we will be drinking, so
Yes.
that helps us. But we're distanced. I really don't know how to respond at this point. We'll have to wait and see, but hopefully we will continue to be able to be in the studio and not have to worry about internet connectivity from home and stuff, but we'll do what we can. Anyway, as things have gotten crazy, I've gotten to the point where I'm now going out less again. Like I was going out more. Now I just only try to sneak out for things I absolutely have to.
I haven't actually stopped going out less. I've been
You've been going out less
homebody.
the whole time. Yeah, I picked it up a little bit when things started to open back up, but still trying to be really careful. But anyway, it does leave you time to sit at home if you have a place, which I know you do in your backyard, to be able to smoke a little bit. So
yeah, so my humidor has taken quite the beating on this.
You mentioned that, yeah.
I finally stocked it back up, and now it's going back down. So there's going to have to be a. I'm gonna be searching the sales racks.
Yes, exactly. Well, did you smoke anything interesting this week?
I did. I went by the Casa de Montecristo today.
Mm-hmm.
And Ken was up there, and Steve.
Our buddy
those
Ken.
guys.
Oh,
Yeah, those
love
guys.
those guys.
So
Yeah.
nice. And they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, cigar before the show. They said, "Well, here's the one you have to have." So I grabbed their. It's the Crown Heads 4 Kicks No. 7. This is the Casa de Montecristo exclusive.
Oh, so this is I think I remember reading something about that they were going to have their own, in-store line from Crown Heads.
So I grabbed that. This is a 5.5 by 54 double Robusto. It's wrapped with an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, Nicaraguan binder, and filler in there. And that's
good looking cigar too.
Great combination. Yeah, it is great looking. Dark brown, rustic, oily kind of finish on it. Firm overall, reasonably smooth throughout the whole cigar. It looks like a pretty nice cigar. Just appearance. 2 labels and a footer. So the 2 labels. One label is the 4 Kicks label, and then you have the one on it that says the Casa de Montecristo exclusive.
Nice.
And then on the footer it says Crown Heads. Also, this has a pigtail at the head and a closed foot. So that's kind of fun. That's just a little bit different. The pre-light sniff on this, I did a clip on this, and the draw was pretty much effortless. The pre-light sniff on this was barnyard, earth, little fermented hay, some classic tobacco, and a little tea leaf at the foot of it, and coffee bean. Like, have you ever been in a coffee house before they've roasted all the beans?
Right, just the bean smell.
Yeah, kind of interesting. It's coffee, but not quite coffee the way we drink it.
I don't drink a lot of coffee, but I used to love going in the grocery store where they have the bulk coffee beans and getting a little bag just so I could smell it and then leaving it there. And I realized that probably wasn't a very good thing to do. So
the pre-light draw on this sweet, creamy toffee, tons of cedar and hay, coffee, a slight tingle on the lips, pepper, and a little cayenne lingers on the palate after you. And I'm puffing on it without lighting it yet. This is just the pre-light draw. So pretty interesting overall. Very flavorful even before it's lit. That's promising, you know?
Yep.
The initial light, blast of pepper and tangy campfire, cedar, earth, and hazelnut. That blast of pepper I was expecting with the Nicaraguan binder and filler on it. The hazelnut and and tangy flavors in there were kind of a bonus. Maybe it's the Habano wrapper on that.
Yeah.
But it was really, really nice. The first third of the cigar, hazelnut and sweet toffee vie for first position on the palate, followed closely by cedar, dark fruit. There's a really nice dark fruit flavor all the way through this cigar that I really enjoyed. Coffee, all supported by a kind of a tangy pepper backbone. Had a little bit of a flaky ash, but a perfect burn on it.
You are waxing poetic with this. This is very well written. I suppose,
I haven't been out of the
notes.
house. I haven't been out of the house.
Gotcha.
I got no outlet. What are you talking about? So, actually, I have been out of the house a little bit, but I'll explain that in a minute. Let's see. The second third of this, hazelnut and toffee remain prominent. Cedar ramps up. Coffee and dark fruity flavors remain present, and the tangy pepper backbone is solid and pleasant all the way through. The flaky ash, still mostly perfect burn. It got a little
Little
I'm
uneven.
being picky when I say this.
Yeah.
It got just a little uneven, but not enough to worry about. The last third of the cigar, the tanginess fades a little bit to the background. Pepper moves forward. Kind of expect that when you get to the last end of a cigar. This is a good, solid, medium strength cigar. I didn't mention that before, but a good, solid, medium strength cigar. Not a real huge, bruiser or anything like that, but great flavor on this. The pepper moves forward. Toffee and coffee follow right up beyond that, and then finishing with the nuttiness and that dark fruit. I put raisins because I was kind of tasting a little bit of that in the background. Flaky ash, perfect burn. This cigar cost me $9, or I think a hair under $9. I give it a 5.5 on our price to quality. And you may not know our price to quality scale, but the way it works is it's a 1 to 10. If you get a 5 on it, you get exactly what you paid for.
Okay.
So anything above a 5 is
anything
pretty
above a
spectacular.
5,
Yeah.
I feel like it's punching a little above its weight class. Anything below, you would, say, hey, maybe it's good, but it's, not worth quite that much money.
Does
This
anything
was,
ever get like a 9? I mean,
Yes.
Actually,
Okay.
it'll surprise you what did.
Yeah.
yes, I actually told the story one time of sitting down at a friend's house, and my friend, as a joke, put a
Black and mild.
Black and mild, where I usually sit around the table
Yeah.
because I smoke cigar and stuff there. He goes, "Hey, I bought you a cigar," and I thought that was funny. And not being snobby about it, I smoked it, but I sat down and enjoyed. This is not a terrible cigar.
And it's what, 99 cents?
It's well, depending on where you buy it, it can be like 80 cents.
Yeah.
If you buy it in a little more bulk or whatever. So for 80 cents, and the fact that I sat down and enjoyed it with friends and we had some whiskey with it and stuff like that, I gave it a 9 because it's hard to beat that for 80 cents or $1.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
and clearly, the more expensive a cigar is, the tougher it is for it to get an above 5 rating. If we're smoking a $12 or $15 cigar and it gets more than a 5, it must have been
It's
outstanding.
an oddly logarithmic scale. But the bottom line is, and I'm not saying that the Black and Mild is a great cigar. I am saying bang for the buck.
Yeah,
Time and a place. There's so many things.
Yes, very much.
That are time and a place.
absolutely true.
Jimmy Buffett music, any other time, maybe a 2, but on the beach,
Right.
it
Oh,
could be a
you're
9.
absolutely right. I don't long to hear steel drums on a daily
Yeah,
basis,
right.
but in the right situation with the right drink in my hand, steel drums are perfect.
Absolutely.
I-
yeah.
When I was in Vegas the last time, me and my wife sat and had lunch at the Jimmy Buffett restaurant there, and I got to tell you, in that amount of time, you can get pretty sick of it. And I was just trying to think, how do these employees feel?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this: I've just in the past few years been able to listen to Jimmy Buffett again, and it all goes back to a year that I spent living in Panama City, Florida, and I would go out. Every bar, every restaurant has some guy on a stool in the corner named Captain Asshole playing a guitar and doing really bad Jimmy Buffett
It's
covers.
kind of like going
And
through.
It's just like I was done,
Yeah, it's kind of like going through right outside of Graceland. Everywhere you go,
Yeah, everything's Elvis.
everything is Elvis. Like
All
there's
Elvis all the
Elvis
time.
signs. You walk into a hotel, the lobby is playing Elvis. I mean, it's like absolutely insane.
Well, it sounds like that was a good cigar. I'm going to have to go try one of those because
It was actually quite good, and I will get another.
Yeah, excellent. If you get another, grab a second one for me.
Will do.
I'll pays you back. I had something interesting this week, and it was another one of those things that I have not done in years. I smoked a Macanudo.
Oh,
It's been years.
I haven't even thought about Macanudos much.
Absolutely. And, when I first started smoking cigars, I smoked lots of Macanudos because, they're wonderful and mild and creamy. And as my palate developed a little bit, I started liking the things that were more, medium to
more
full-bodied.
robust,
And the Macanudos are pretty mild. So it's just been a long time since I bought them. However, this week I smoked the Macanudo Inspirado Red Toro. And this line came out a while back, designed to
I've seen
target
that.
people who like fuller-bodied cigars. But I kind of had this specific brand image in my head. Macanudo to me just meant, mellower, milder cigars. And I have several in my humidor of different brands. And I was like, well, I don't need any more of those. I got plenty for when I'm in the mood for that. And I just never really thought about picking this up. Anyway, finally, I decided to try it. It was a really beautiful cigar, but then again, I don't think I've ever seen an ugly Macanudo. I mean, they make them well. Pre-light on this was very grassy and had notes of, that fermented hay and wheat. That was really about all I got from it. Nothing to suggest that it wasn't going to be another really mild Macanudo.
Right.
But I used a punch, and I lit it up, and immediately I knew that this was going to be a very different Macanudo experience. I should mention that they construct the Inspirado Red with Nicaraguan and Ecuadorian tobacco, all wrapped in an Ecuadorian Habano leaf. So it's got the potential, tobacco-wise, to have a little more of a punch. The first puff, though, I actually turned the cigar over in my hand to look at the band to make sure I hadn't picked up the wrong one because it had these full earth aromas. A blast of red pepper was evident right away, and it already was packing a punch. And I was like, oh, boy, this is going to be different. The second third of this cigar, it started to pick up notes of cedar and dark fruit. Again, cedar maybe on a Macanudo Cafe, but not these sort of deep, dark, dried fruit sort of aromas. It also moved from medium to medium full right around the halfway mark and kept smoking a little bit stronger. Never got harsh, but a little bit stronger as I went. I was honestly really surprised at how much I enjoyed this cigar, which just goes to show you can't always have these preset notions in your mind of what things are going to be.
They need to rename it the Big Mac.
It's something. I don't know.
Wait, that might be taken.
Yeah, I think it may be. Final third continued with the red pepper tang on my tongue, the cedar, and a hint of leather. Construction on this was excellent, which I remember had been the case with any Macanudo that I'd ever smoked. The burn was good enough, like you said about yours, wasn't perfectly even the whole way, but close enough. I never tended it. And I have to say, this medium full cigar was really good. You could even make an argument that it was full-bodied by the time it got to the final third. And at a $6 to $7 price point, I recommend it highly. I give it a 6 on the price to quality, and I will be buying more. And I'm going to have Macanudos in my humidor again. It's been a long time.
It's funny to say Macanudo is just one of those kind of ubiquitous brands that you start off with a lot of times, and they have them everywhere. So that was like when you first start smoking cigars, it's just one that is always there and you always try. And then, like you said, as you grow away from it, you tend to kind of ignore those brands because it's just taken for granted that, okay, that's a good cigar. It does what it does.
Right. Well, it kind of ties in with a question we'll be asking Lennie about, because when you are a brand that's been around for a while, and you're maybe the first brand that a lot of people try in your category, and then time goes by and all these cool little guys pop up around you doing something new, something different. The challenge has to be, how do you continue to keep people engaged?
Yeah.
How do you continue to keep people coming back to St. Arnold and trying your stuff and not just saying, hey, I've had St. Arnold, it's good, but now I'm going to try all these other things. So that's a question we'll be getting to in our next segment, and we'll also be getting to some tasting, which I'm really excited about. So let's take our first break. We'll be right back. Lennie Ambrose from St. Arnold Brewery is here, and I want to find out a little bit about the history of St. Arnold and then what's happening now, because this show is just so long overdue. So here we go. Awesome. Smoking and Toasting. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin'. By the way, all music on Smokin' and Toastin' used by permission. And we really would love to remind you to find us in all of the various places that we exist and access the show in the way that works best for you. We're up on all the podcast networks. We're on, Apple Podcast and Google Play, and you can find us on SoundCloud and Stitcher and all those other places. You also can subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes,
and
please do.
We're really trying to get that one beefed up because that was the last one.
That's the last one. Yeah, so
that we launched,
if you're the kind of person that just likes to have the TV with some content on in the background, you know what? Put on Smokin' and Toastin', turn the lights down low, make out with your significant other. It's a great mood enhancer.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing you want on in the background.
Sounds terrible. I'm sorry.
I kind of grew up in the radio business, and back in the day when I was a young radio guy, they always used to tell me that the only thing you had to do was just tell the audience what you want them to believe. And I was like, well, isn't that kind of no? You just tell them the way that, if you tell them we play the most music, they'll believe we play the most music. I'm like, okay, but that tell them what you want them to believe. I find that is still happening every day on cable news.
Well, look, I'm just stating what works for me in my household.
Got it.
All.
Okay. Well, you're a different breed of cat, and I think that's worth talking about. By the way, Johnny Walker Scotch whiskey is soon to receive a makeover. And green is all the rage. And what they mean by that is it's not going to be green whiskey or green bottles. They're going green. They're going to be packaging starting in 2021, plastic-free and glass-free bottles. They're going to be using paper bottles for distribution of Johnny Walker. They developed it in partnership with a venture management company called Pilot Light, and it'll be fully recyclable and crafted from wood pulp that meets food grade standards. And so you can look for that starting next year. See, I don't know.
So weird.
I think I want my whiskey in glass bottles.
I'm just trying to imagine buying a bottle of Johnny Walker Gold in a paper.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
It's weird to me.
It doesn't seem right. I don't know.
Is it a paper bottle or do we call it a something other?
Now, at least in this case, it's whiskey and not beer, because I already am the guy that likes beer in the bottles because I feel like it gets colder. And Ian likes it in cans. But paper would be, I would think, even less cold.
Well, you know what sucks is drinking out of those paper straws.
Oh, that's
those
the worst.
Are terrible.
Yeah, and here's my thing about paper straws. And I'm a total environment green guy. I really try to do things to, lower my carbon footprint and all of that kind of stuff. But here's the part of it I don't understand. Plastic straws are made of plastic. Plastic recycles. Why do we need a shitty paper straw that isn't going to be any more recyclable than a plastic one?
I'm sure there's some kind of reason, but what I do is I have my drink cups and I just have the reusable straws. Like I just wash my straws.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's
one thing you have to worry about, though, with the reusable metal straws. If you try, and I found this out a few times during these quarantine times, if you try to drink a frozen drink out of them, it'll be like a Christmas Story where it freezes to your lips. Actually does.
Yeah.
That happens.
So I actually bought some of the metal straws first, but I kept clacking them against my teeth. I was like, that sucks. So I went to the plastic straws.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just me being, clumsy.
Look, here's what you have to do. They make this little device. It's like a bottle washer, but it's long and super thin, and it works for straws. You get one of those, you can wash and reuse your straws zillions of times.
Wash your straw.
I like going to Chick-fil-A because they have the big plastic straws, and they're more reusable than the little ones. How do we get?
So I buy the hard plastic ones from Arctic. And then you just use them over and over again.
And those work great. So, I know how we got on that. Paper bottles.
Madness.
Yes,
beer.
Madness. Well, beer is the thing of the moment, and I'm so excited to have St. Arnold on the show. Lennie Ambrose is here from St. Arnold. You're the marketing director. Is that your title? Is that right?
I guess CMO, but that sounds so clinical.
Yeah. You're the guy that gets people excited about St. Arnold
That's
beer.
what I prefer.
Yeah,
yes,
I love it. Well, Lennie and I met a long time ago, back when you guys were in the original brewery location.
Probably, I was thinking, I've been there 13 and a half years, so about that long ago.
Yeah, I think it may have been really close to
13 years ago then.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you guys hadn't moved yet into the much larger brewery. You were in like the warehouse area back over there, and it was just everything about it when you went in St. Arnold. Now it's got this cool like old school vibe because of the way the brewery building is and how old the building is, and red brick, and it's cool. But back in the day, it just had this. This was a couple of dudes who had a beer idea and they rented a warehouse. It had that feel to it. And yet you guys managed to kind of burst onto the scene and become, the oldest craft beer in Texas. How did, what's the origin story? How did it happen? Was Brock home brewing and then decided to start distributing it? Is it that simple?
Well, he likes to say that, if I can get this right, opening St. Arnold in 1994 was a good idea in 2004.
I can't imagine what he had to go through.
Yeah.
By the way, and let me just interrupt for a second. Lennie mentioned this during the break. St. Arnold Brewery opened in 1994.
Oh, right, yeah.
This is show number 194.
Yeah.
So it was the perfect show.
That's
for,
right. That's
am I
right.
justified now?
Can we
That's
taste
why.
beer before we
Let's do that. Yes. So while you pour, Lennie, tell us when he opened in 2004 or opened in 1994. Said it would be a good idea in 2004.
2004, basically because no one had ever heard of a craft brewery or what that is, or you either drank light American lager or maybe some people drank the good beer from Germany is kind of what people would say.
Right.
So just educating people on
Shiner.
what an amber ale was. Yeah, Shiner to some extent too. So that was the first hurdle. But you the first week we had 10 people there for the tour, and then kind of kept doing it every single week, and then that would grow and grow and grow. And I got there in 2007, and for me, at least, I think that was a perfect time because the company had been able to establish itself a little bit, but was still in the warehouse.
You were in grocery stores and
Right.
specs and stuff at that point in time,
and
so.
bars and stuff.
Yeah.
But still, when I started, you would start every conversation with, well, we're a craft brewery, or at the time a microbrewery, and that's what this means, and quality over quantity and those kinds of things. And then it's grown past that to where it's just kind of become beer.
Right. Well, I remember it would have been about 95, I think, when I first tasted a St. Arnold, and it was the Amber.
Yeah.
And was that the first one released?
It was, yep.
Okay, so the St. Arnold Amber, I remember I was having a party at my house. I was working for a radio station back then. We were having a party, and a whole bunch of the staff people came over, and everybody brought beer, and I wish I could say it was me that bought the St. Arnold, but it wasn't. Somebody brought some of the Amber and stuck it in the ice chest, and I remember taking one and saying, wow, this has flavor.
What is going on here?
What's happening with
sure.
this? And that got me started, with that being a regular thing that I would buy and bring home. And then over time.
I I really did it wrong. I did it too slow.
You
and
were
then
trying for the
I
sound
was trying
effect.
dramatic,
Yeah.
and now I have to use the bottle opener to kill. There we go.
There we go.
Wow, that really.
That's okay.
I
The
need
sound
to-
came through though.
When
It
you
did? Okay.
When you do real sound effects, sometimes it's a live thing.
Yeah.
It's how it works.
Well,
so.
so
I'm gonna
you
pass that one
said
over to
you
Adam.
bring in a beer guy to talk about beer. You said let's taste some beer, and then I immediately give you not beer.
Oh yes, because you're starting
but-
with cider, aren't
Right.
you?
So we are going to start with cider, but it's because more of sort of the flavor profile, and I just thought that might go better at the beginning. But we did start making cider a couple years ago now with a dry cider. This year we've released rosé cider. You would not believe the amount of cider that we tasted to get our cider program off the ground. It was a lot of, heartburn and bad cider and stuff.
Is cider harder than beer to get right?
It's just different. It is just totally different. And I think at the beginning we were like, let's do cider. Our distributor wants it. We think there's a market for it in our beer garden. So let's do it. And then it became kind of now let's figure it out. Oh my God. How do we do it? And our
Right.
brewers trying to really figure it out. So it took a while, almost a year, to really dial in.
So a rosé cider, what is the? It's not apple, right?
It is
smells-
absolutely
It is
apple.
apple, okay.
Yep, absolutely apple. But then there's a little hibiscus to give it kind of a dryness. And also the color that people would expect.
Right, because that is a rosé color for sure. You can see that in the cup. But
then there's a little ginger too, actually, that gives it
Oh,
kind of a nose and a bite, and
it's very refreshing.
I
mean,
couldn't nail what I was smelling because it
was the
doesn't have
ginger.
a whole lot going on the nose,
right.
but there was something in there and I couldn't nail it. I was going through all the fruits in my mind and I couldn't come up with it until you said ginger, and then I took a sip.
To me, it is awesome, pool, summertime.
Yeah, it's got that vibe to it, doesn't it?
It really does. I've had a lot of this rosé cider over the summer so far. Neighbors are telling me, like, my wife is buying it by the crate and bringing it home and stuff. So we're really proud of that one. And when the beer garden is open,
Right.
it's super popular out
Which
there as
we'll
well.
definitely talk about that.
We definitely
One
will.
of my issues with a lot of ciders is how sweet they tend to be, and this
does not have
obviously
that.
It's dry cider,
Uh-huh.
so it's not going to be as sweet. But I love that about it. It's not sticky sweet. It's real clean on the palate, and then leaves that dryness afterwards. It's real nice.
Lennie, how does cider sell for you guys as opposed to an iteration of beer?
It is. If it was like a beer brand, it would be down the line, the 7th or 8th. So not giant.
Not giant, but not maybe all the way at the bottom either, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kind of middle of the pack, and we want it to grow. That's
There
the
seems to
idea.
be, among craft brewers, there seems to be two schools of thought about cider and also about hard seltzer. Of course, they're not the same thing. But on the one hand, you've got places like Sam Adams that's kind of how they've kept things together during the proliferation of so many other craft breweries, and them being one of the older ones. They have kept their bottom line going by introducing a lot of very successful hard seltzers and some cider as well. And then you got breweries like Stone. I think I mentioned this to you, Ian. I got some merchandise from them that I ordered online, and it came with a few like extra coasters and stickers. And one of the coasters said on it, "Hard cider, where poor quality and bad taste meet."
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I think we know where Stone stands on the hard cider.
Until they change their mind.
Until
on
they
that,
change
though.
their mind and
like
sell a
all
bunch of it.
us,
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah, I know.
It
I know.
happens.
Would you guys aren't doing a hard cider now, are you?
You mean hard
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Seltzer.
Hard seltzer. Yes.
We aren't. I would say we aren't going to, but we also said we're never going to do cans, and that we would never do something fruited, and that's sort of what I mean. Like I know Stone at one point said, our beer is not right for cans. That's not our
and
thing.
now they're in
then
cans.
they
Yeah.
do cans.
Yeah, I get it.
And I think people mean that, and Brock certainly meant it. We're not doing cans until you don't mean it anymore for a variety of reasons. And now cans are 70% of our business.
Earlier we were
I
talking, you said, hey, there's a time and place. Like when we're talking about the
Yeah.
cigar, there's a time and place, and sometimes cans are the right thing.
Well, I know that during the pandemic, cans actually saved a few craft breweries that
Yep.
were bottle only before. They switched to cans, and it allowed them to get shelf space, and it made it easier for them to do transport and stuff during a time when everybody's trying to figure out how to stay alive. So it's interesting. You're right. Until it's the thing until it's not the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And a slight difference with Sam Adams, and neither one is right or wrong, is that, like we make St. Arnold cider. Sam Adams does Angry Orchard cider,
Right.
and truly sparkling or hard
Things
seltzer,
with a different brand
twisted
imprint on
tea,
them.
right? Where the average customer doesn't even know that it's them doing it,
Right.
And that's
It may say Boston Beer
debated.
Works on the cans.
Yeah,
on it.
somewhere, or Cincinnati, which is where a lot of their stuff is made. So just kind of a brand choice, I guess.
It's really interesting, and you guys have kept your look and your brand image with St. Arnold pretty consistent across most of your beers. There's now a few that have come out that are slightly different
just
in terms
to kind
of
of have some fun.
Yeah, but it's always been an interesting thing, and of course when you see it on the cider can, I kind of go, well, if I'm going to try a cider, I want to try one these guys do. So
Yeah.
it's got that kind of impact. I think this is really good. I mean, I will.
I
this
slammed
is
mine. It was
this
super
is
yummy.
a regular keep some in the fridge type of thing. And I'm like you, Ian. I don't always say that with ciders because some of them are just a little too sweet for my
a lot of them.
palate.
A lot of them. Honestly, I haven't had that many ciders that I really enjoyed. We had Blair from Austin East Ciders. He's moved on to a different company now. But we had him on the show 100 episodes ago, something like that.
Yeah, and his ciders were
and
really
he
good.
had some nice ciders. I just don't like them when they're real sweet. I was at a bar one night and they had those there, and I ordered one, and the bartender gave me the wrong one, and I thought, oh, I'll just drink it.
And it
I
just,
could not get through it. Like, that's how much I don't like those really sticky sweet ones. This was so good, I just mowed right through it. It's more carbonated than what I generally like too, and it works with
But
this. It's really
it does
good.
work. Yeah, it really
Good.
does. You kind of want that for the refreshment of the beverage. So that is really good.
That crisp, like it's like an apple tartness that you end up with at the end is really nice.
Yeah,
too.
it's not sour, but it's got some tartness
just a
to it.
tiny little snap to it.
It's good. Recommended. All right, while we
He's smiling. We're
maybe
doing his
open
job for him.
while we maybe open up the next one, I want to mention a comment.
Hold on.
Ooh,
There
that's
it
good.
is.
That's good. Now
That was real.
I'll tell you a little smoking and toasting secret. When you do that, when you do that, then what you want to do is drop the bottle cap on the
Okay,
table,
all
so
right.
you get a little clangety noise
Yeah,
when
sure.
the bottle cap drops.
Yeah, you're not done yet, right?
While you're pouring, Lennie, I'll mention Joseph Vargas on the comments. We were talking about the history of St. Arnold. He says, "I remember when Brock delivered his own beer in 1997 in his van. Amazing man."
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how it got to the stores.
One of my early St. Arnold stories. So I moved into Houston, and I was in some bands and things like that, and we used to play a lot around town. St. Arnold's you could find almost everywhere, you know,
Yeah.
and they were sponsoring things all the time, so you'd see their banners and stuff. And I made it a personal mission to try to drink all the brown ale I could find.
Uh-huh.
I really enjoyed the brown ale.
Rest in peace, Brian.
Yes, I missed it.
Yeah.
But one time I got a call from a friend of mine, Billy Parks, I think is his name, had a band called Parks and Wildlife, and they were
Nice.
playing at the brewery. And he goes, "Come on up, there's beer and everything else." And I show up, and you had cups similar to this. You go up to the bar, and you fill it with beer, and you drink it. You go back, and you just
Yeah.
keep doing this, right? And then Billy walks up to me during one of their set breaks and goes, "Hey, you know, if you buy one of the pint glasses, you don't have to stand by the bar the entire time." And I said, "Okay."
What a brilliant idea.
So I did that. And then about an hour later, I called my brother-in-law. And I say, "Hey, Dave." He's like, "What's going on?" I said, "You're going to have to come pick me up."
Yep.
And he goes,
This is in the pre-Uber days, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
this is pre-cell phone. This was late 90s.
Yeah.
Probably 96 to 97-ish, somewhere in there. And so he goes, "Oh, okay, man, I'll come get you." And so he comes up, and he's looking at my glass, and I was like, "If you go buy one of those, they fill them over there." And about an hour and a half later, we're calling my sister going,
Yeah.
"Hey, Elaine, you got to come pick us both up."
Yep. That happens to everybody
Yeah,
eventually.
it
One
really
time.
does. So, Brock, what is this? I'm sorry, I called you Brock. See, we were talking about Brock doing the deliveries. Lennie, what is
Yes.
this that we're tasting now?
So raspberry sour aged
Mm-hmm.
in whiskey barrels with vanilla bean.
So is this the raspberry AF?
Raspberry
Okay.
AF base. Yep. And then,
but you've aged it.
right, aged it for 13 months in Gulf Coast Distillers whiskey barrels that we got locally, our neighbors in the East End there. And there's a little vanilla bean. And the first time we released this, we only did it on nitro, on draft. And so this is actually carbonated. And I love this beer.
I loved Boiler Room.
Oh man, I
I
bought
used
so
to
many
buy
of
those bombers. They were like $5
Yeah,
for a bomber.
and it was
Great
delicious.
beer.
We're about to do. It was canned today. If I had known, I would have brought some off the canning line. I'm sorry, but we canned a run of Boiler Room that'll be available to go from the beer garden.
Oh, I'll be swinging
Nice.
by.
So, like
yeah.
in a week or so.
Nice.
Yep.
I loved Boiler
loved
Room.
it. Yeah,
And
we
then
had it on the show, and then it
Right.
disappeared.
Yeah.
right, and then it just was gone one day.
Yep.
And then Raspberry AF showed up.
Yeah.
And I drank a lot of that.
The raspberry
I still
AF
do drink it
was
from time to time.
is Boiler Room, but with raspberry.
With a lot
brewed
of
with
raspberries.
A
Yeah.
lot of raspberry.
Just Boiler Room, it was slightly ahead of its time. And then, like, as soon as we got rid of it, all these other Berliner Weiss started
Yeah, that started
cropping up
popping
and
up.
stuff.
Yeah, wow.
We just didn't put it in the right package, and it just wrong package, wrong time, a little too early, and
So let me ask you this question about a beer release. And by the way, this is amazing.
Yes.
a little funkiness.
It's
to
got
it.
that little funkiness from the aging, and you can taste a little bit of the bourbon
It's like
barrel flavors.
The raspberry seed, like you can taste right there that raspberry seedy kind of flavor going on.
What is the ABV on this?
It's up to it's 6.6. So
So that's
So
not
this is a
that
little
high.
higher than the raspberry AF.
yeah,
right?
it is.
But
Uh-huh.
it tastes maybe a little boozier than even. It tastes more like the beers we have towards the end of the show, which are usually usually a little higher in ABV. But it's good.
It's a very
really good.
warm, friendly aftertaste. I think that's the influence of the barrel on that one.
So what is
absolutely.
What is this called, and can people buy it?
Yep. So it's just raspberry sour aged in whiskey barrels. It
Is
doesn't
this
have
gonna
a,
be-
a name. That is sold to go from the beer garden
In these bottles.
in these 500 milliliter bottles.
So that's not something we'll find at Specs or in the grocery store.
Nope.
This is beer garden only.
No,
Okay.
we're trying to do some now that we won the right in the legislature to do beer to go from the brewery, which is a new thing and has kept a lot of breweries afloat.
Yes.
We've done some special releases, and there's a lot of times where we can't make enough to send to every chain and every store, so we wanted to be able to do some kind of smaller few barrel sort of things here and there and just release them, and people have responded to it a lot.
When you guys are brewing something new, do you know at the time you're brewing it whether it's going to be a limited release, or obviously you do with certain things like the Bishop's Barrel or Divine Reserve.
Yeah.
But let's just say you're coming out with you've got a hazy IPA. So you're coming out with that. Do you know at the time you're brewing it and starting to can it, this is going to be a permanent one or this is limited? Or do you put it out and then make that decision when you see how it's received?
It's a couple different ways. I think the way we've sort of settled into the most often is it kind of starts with sales a lot of times, in that they say, we need something like this. Brewing innovation team, can you get us some, brew some test batches of a hazy noble hopped beer or whatever that thing is,
Right.
to kind of slot in this area. So it is trying to hit a target, but then there's also sometimes that we go for an R&D meeting, and Aaron, the guy that runs that program for us, comes in and is like, all right, we've got these test brews, and it's just out of left field, and sometimes there's a hit in that regard, and you're like, oh, we want more of this. Maybe if it was just tweaked a little bit, and then the next meeting he might, or 2 meetings, 3 meetings from then, might have 3 different versions of that kind of thing, and then it's sort of narrowing it down from there. So
when you released Art Car IPA, for example,
that was
did
a
you
very
know that was
specific
going to be
purpose.
that was
Yes.
going to be a regular part of your
Yes,
line?
we needed a newer style IPA that emphasized sort of the fruit flavors of an IPA rather than the bitterness, which is more like, Alyssa is
Alyssa,
more
yeah,
of
right.
kind of a English style or whatever, a more bitter old school style IPA.
I'm the big IPA fan of the two of us, and Art Car for me came out at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Because I was just about getting a little burned out on Alyssa, and Art Car was just the shift that I wanted to a different kind of flavor. Do you still brew Alyssa?
Oh yeah,
Because
we
I
do.
still see it
It's-
every
yeah,
once in a while.
Yeah, and it's not in
I-
cans; it's just in bottles.
I
and-
drank so much Alyssa that
my
I
goodness,
kind
yeah.
of burned out.
Yeah,
sure.
totally.
But when I see it somewhere, I still pick it up once in a while.
So let me ask this from a marketing standpoint: when you release Art Car, and it's a hit, as it certainly was,
Yep.
how much of that comes from people who were buying Alyssa before, and how much of it is new, would you say?
I think that beer brought more new people into the fold, even right at the outset. That beer was definitely a game changer for us. And, you talked about in the open, how do you win new people over? How do you not become stale when other newer breweries are opening up? I think what Art Card did for us was turn that corner, to keep the art car metaphor going, for us to have people see us in a different way.
Is that your best seller? What's the
It
best
is,
seller?
yeah.
Art car is your
It
best seller.
surpassed seasonal and lawnmower as our number one brand, and is still growing, double digits. Obviously, this year the draft sales have taken a hit,
Yeah.
but tremendously. But right now, yeah, it's our number one individual brand, still double digits.
Well, the raspberry sour is terrific, and it's just like more.
You mentioned the funkiness in there. There is a little funk in there that I really, really enjoy too.
Yeah, it's terrific.
That is, I'm going to be going by and picking up
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
much
We will-
of that.
we've
You're
often-
directly affecting sales.
Yeah, we've often said, Lennie, that Smoking and Toasting directly affects sales, even if it's just Ian and me swinging by the brewery.
Oh
to
my
pick up
goodness,
some
we
things.
sold 2 more bottles
Yeah,
this
yeah.
month.
Right.
How is that possible?
Lennie, you got to go on that show again.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to do a little more beer. We will eventually get to some tequila. And I want to bring people up to speed with a few things happening out there in the news, namely this whole fake Instagram scam that's going on to scam cigar fans. So we'll tell you what to worry about if you're on Instagram. It's not a big deal, but just power. Knowledge is power. That's what I'm trying to say. Speak word to power. I don't know what I'm trying to say. We'll be truth.
Nobody
to power.
knows what you're trying to say.
The hell? I'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. If you are a cigar person, you are on Instagram, you may want to be careful. The editors at Cigar Aficionado, along with some people at Cigars International, the online cigar retailer, have identified a number of fake Instagram accounts that are impersonating either Cigar Aficionado or Cigars International, and there may be more. These are just the ones that we know about. Basically, they're trying to steal money and steal identities, they say, from cigar lovers on Instagram. They operate by following or direct messaging people who follow cigar accounts with names similar to, like, Cigar Aficionado. Like, one of them was Cigar Aficionado Prize, at Cigar Aficionado Prize on Instagram. They might offer a prize or claim to be supporting COVID-19 efforts, and then they start requesting personal information, such as your bank account and social security number.
Stop.
Folks, Cigar Aficionado does not need your social security number.
Stop. First off, anybody that isn't the actual government standing in front of you that wants your social security number, don't.
Remember when they used to ask you, back in the days when you would write a check at the grocery store?
Yeah.
And they would ask for your social security number? And I would say, I'd be happy to show you my card. I'm not writing it on the check. Yeah.
Bad idea.
Yeah, bad idea. Anyway, so be careful of that if you're on Instagram. Just generally, like Ian said, no, you don't need to be giving your bank account information to anybody that you're not authorizing to take money out of your bank account.
That's
That's it. So
all you have to do is send us this check, and we'll send you a lot of money.
that's right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm a prince in a faraway land, and I need to come to your country, and I'll be happy to give you millions of dollars. Can you send me 10,000 right now?
Yeah, I don't even like. I go to the grocery store, or not the grocery store, but like the department stores and stuff, and they'll ask you for your phone number at the register, and I always look at the lady. I'm going, look, my wife is right here next to me. Okay, we can't do this.
That totally works. Totally works. I love it. Lennie Ambrose from St. Arnold is here. Lennie, I know you probably answered this question 1,000 times, but because it is the first time we're having you on the show, tell me, is there in fact a St. Arnold, the patron saint of brewers, or
Yep.
is that a legend crafted to make the beer cool?
Well, can it be both?
I love it if it's both. Yes.
Yeah, and he actually was a real guy, the patron saint of brewers. His miracle was having the never-ending beer mug.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
As well as some other things, but the patron saint of brewers. He was a brewer himself, a very popular bishop, as you might imagine.
I would say so.
He brewed.
Yes. Yeah.
So there were a number of names that Brock was kind of looking at when he was going to name the brewery, which actually is interesting because another couple of the finalists, I think, were Real Ale and Live Oak. And so this was before both of those breweries opened.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so like a couple years, but those guys have been around a long time as well. I think
Both
Real
great
Ale's like
breweries.
95. Yeah, absolutely. So just great minds think alike at the time. But yeah, he settled on St. Arnold, and I think part of it was sort of the, to be able to use like the guy and stuff as kind of a mascot. It fit for him a little better than some of the other names.
I grew up in the Baptist church. That was what my parents were Baptist, and in the Baptist church, it was kind of like we don't smoke, drink, or chew, or go with girls that do. And when I found out there were other religions that like that like the big guys in the religion actually were brewers, I realized I was definitely born into the wrong.
Except for you
wrong
see those people
denomination.
looking down in the liquor store when you pass by them.
Oh, yeah,
so
absolutely.
Neither of you see each other
That's
in the
absolutely
smoke
true.
shop or
That's
the liquor
absolutely
store
true.
or whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that there's an actual saint who is a patron saint of brewers, I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful thing. St. Arnold founded in Houston, Texas in 1994. When did you move into the much larger facility? What year was that?
Just over 10 years ago.
Wow, has it been that long?
They moved
know.
into a facility right by where all cars were towed.
Yep, that's right. And
That's how I knew exactly where it was.
a lot of people said the same thing, and we would kind of describe
if
it.
you lived in Houston
Yep.
and you parked your car anywhere downtown, and I mean anywhere, it got towed.
Yes.
And that's where it went, to the lot right next to where.
He's right.
That's absolutely right. Well, I'll tell you another thing about their St. Arnold location. This didn't wind up happening, and it's probably good that it didn't. But when my business partner and I were growing our business, which is part of how we knew Lennie from back in the day, we actually considered and did a walkthrough tour. We actually considered renting office space in the new St. Arnold Brewery. We had a discussion about it. I think the primary reason that I thought it might be a good idea, because I think I was the one that said, they're going to have a lot of space. Maybe they'd rent us some extra space. And so we did a walkthrough of it just before it was open. But I think I just loved the idea of, okay, what time is it? Oh, about 4:30. Yeah, I think
I'm going to go upstairs.
Let's go upstairs.
And all that extra space we had, like we're going to put a bowling alley in here.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
all full. That's all
well,
full now,
it
right?
quickly filled
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
actually. It
it's-
ended up, you would have been kicked out after like 6
Absolutely,
months.
absolutely. We're like, okay, we'll leave, but we're taking beer
Yeah,
with us. Oh man. So, what is this one that you've opened now? This is the Summer Pills,
Summer
right?
Pills, it's, just because.
You're a
beer.
huge fan of Summer Pills.
I
aren't
have been crushing this beer since I saw it on the shelf. Every single season it comes out. This is one of my absolute keep in my refrigerator go-tos.
you? Yeah, it really is, and it's one of those things that almost signals the beginning of a season.
Yeah.
When this comes out, it'll come out in the spring, and
I
it's
like
Yep.
I like the Lawnmower and a few other of the St. Arnold on the lighter side beers, but this one is my absolute favorite. And it's funny because it's polarizing, because I have some friends who really don't like this one. And I'm like, what is not to like? It's amazing. It's malty. It's delicious.
See, that's what I think about Lawnmower. Like I was never a huge fan of Lawnmower, and I know guys that it's their absolute favorite thing in the world is Lawnmower. I have since gone back to it and discovered I liked it more than I thought I did. So maybe, over time your palate, changes and stuff. But yeah, I was never a big Lawnmower fan, and but I did find that people either loved it or it wasn't. their thing.
Didn't you also have a different version of Lawnmower that was Weed Whacker?
Yeah, that
what
was
that?
So that was the Lawnmower base malt, and hops and everything, the exact same beer as Lawnmower, except for instead of Kolsch yeast, it was Hefeweizen yeast.
Okay.
So
yeah.
it was sort of like a half Hefeweizen.
It did change the flavor substantially.
Yeah,
I like that one a
You
lot,
get
too.
bubble gum and banana kind of flavors, like you would in a Hef. And that was one of those. It kind of had its life cycle, and then
It was
we
out for a
retired
couple
it, and-
years, right?
Yeah, and one honestly that we could do again in like a can run from the beer garden. Having the beer to go ability gives us like, let's just make a couple hundred cases of Weed Whacker.
Okay, I'm going to raise my hand. If you're going to bring back anything that used to be,
Yeah.
I got to put in a vote for Sailing Santa.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sailing
see?
Santa
Yeah.
was Alyssa and
Christmas ale.
Christmas ale combined.
Yep.
And it was wonderful.
Also, for my sake, I wish you would make Christmas ale all year round. Although I'm kind of glad you don't, because I would I would be in bad shape.
That's kind of a wreck.
Yeah.
I love Christmas ale.
But that Sailing Santa was just so good.
Yeah. So that was one of those that they have the the monster fries at In-N-Out. Like they talk about the off menu things.
Right. That you can go in and ask for if you know about them.
It's not on the menu, but so that became one of those. Sailing Santa was. People just started combining it at the old brewery, really, and it just had like a little cult following. So we brewed it, and then we spiced it when we brewed it commercially. And then another one that just kind of lived out its life cycle.
I will tell you,
that's good to know.
actually tried making my own Sailing
and it wasn't
Santa,
the same?
and it was not the same.
No.
Yeah, it was not the same.
All right.
So
Mine would be Winter Stout.
Winter Stout.
If we were going to bring back a limited release beer, something that we haven't done in a while, it'd be Winter Stout.
Ian, just before we get too far away from the summer fills, I wanted to make sure that we got a good shot of that on the camera, because that is one of the more creative St. Arnold with the cooler for summer
can, isn't
thing.
it?
And I love most about
St. Arnold has the sunglasses on.
Yeah,
He's a little tan.
What I love most about the summer pills is that it's a pilsner that's got a real upfront kind of taste and flavor to it. A lot of pilsners are thirst quenching, but just don't have that much flavor. And summer
has
pills
a lot of body in the very beginning
flavor.
of the palate.
Yes,
and that's what I love about it so much. But it is also, as it says on the label, crisp and refreshing.
It is multi-time gold medal winner at the Great American Beer Festival. Yeah, just under 5.
4.9%. Yeah, so it's not too heavy. And I like heavy beers. You know how I am. Like I can't wait for this barley wine.
Yes, we're looking forward to it.
So this is on the very, very light side for me.
Now, Lennie, before we go to the Noble Haze, I just want to mention, as you guys have gone through your sort of IPA progressions, I was a fan of the Alyssa.
I haven't seen this.
Loved when Art Carr came out. You did this cocoa. What is the cocoa? The other one that the can is similar to that. Let me try to say the name of it.
Oh, Sabroken.
Sabroken Nut. That's what I'm. So that was an IPA too, right?
Yep. And our brewers have really knocked it out of the park in the IPA game.
That was a great beer. Now that was a short run, right?
Short run. Yep. It was in stores some, and so is the Noble Haze as well. And it was actually kind of a similar can.
Yes,
so we're sort
it
of
was
doing
orange
these
and
hop drop beers is what we're sort of calling them internally.
And what about the Juicy IPA that
Juicy
that you do?
IPA is a year-round beer.
That's a really good beer.
I love Juicy IPA. I've had more of that than probably anything of ours lately. It is not a hazy IPA,
right,
but it's sort of all the juicy flavor that you get from a hazy IPA.
Very citrus, but not quite with that same mouthfeel to it.
Yes, softness.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. That's right. I'm not
People
typically...
are going to think you know what you're talking about. You stop it over there.
I'm not typically a hazy IPA guy because I don't like the softness that a lot of them have. And Juicy has a little bit of bitterness at the end that sort of offsets that. So that's why I drink it a lot. And same with, in some cases, the Noble Haze. So most of the time... hazy IPAs are kind of cool kid hops, these new breeds of hops,
these real
esoteric ones, or Sabro hops that we use in Sabroken Island. Yes, right. But which you get some coconut, which is why it's Sabroken Island from Sabro hops. This is old school noble hops, like the Hallertau, the ones that are in beers like Summer Pills and that have been around forever.
This noble hops has such a dry and crisp finish to it without leaving it as like some of the other hops, without leaving it as a grapefruit finish.
Yeah.
It's a little bit darker kind of hop feel, if that makes any sense.
Danker, would you say danker?
Danker, yeah.
We love calling something dank. That's one of our favorite words. I would say that this starts a lot like most of the hazy, juicy, you call them sort of the hip kid IPAs.
Yeah.
It starts like that, but it finishes more like a traditional IPA.
This starts like pineapple orange juice.
Totally.
Not in any kind of bad or negative way. I mean, this is like pineapple orange juice. It's viscous, too. It's very...
We had, on last week's show, we did that beer from Untitled Art that was the collaborative beer. That was the hazy IPA. And it was almost more like a citrus milkshake
Yeah.
with a little bit of beer to it. This starts like it's going to be that, but it doesn't finish like that at all. It finishes much more traditional.
No, this finish is way more drink. If you put noble hops on a beer label, I'm almost always going to try it.
Yeah.
You're a
Sam
noble guy.
Adams did a noble hops
They
years
did.
ago that was
A
outstanding.
Noble Pills.
Noble
actually.
Pills,
Noble
yeah.
Pill, yeah,
Noble
that's right.
Pills.
It
That's
was
right.
really, really good.
Yeah. I was going to ask you this question about hops. With the proliferation of all these little breweries and with the sort of trend in IPAs, especially over the last several years, of people just trying to cram ridiculous amounts of hops into things, is it more difficult for you guys to source really good quality hops than it used to be?
We have an advantage, in that we buy a lot. So if a hop supplier that we buy a lot from already for other beers and Art Car or whatever, if they have some new experimental stuff, they'll kind of come to us with it. So
And
that
say, hey, you want to try some of this?
buying
Yeah.
advantage,
That's
try
cool.
some of that.
That's
It's
cool.
free the first time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
but-
You'll like this, little
Yeah,
kid.
right.
Yeah.
You want it, but people will ask us why a beer like Juicy or Sabroconut or Noble Haze is more expensive when they see it on the shelf
Right.
next to Art Car.
Right. Maybe it comes in a 4-pack, or maybe
Yeah.
it's just a couple dollars more.
And
per-
it's just hops are expensive.
Yeah, and it makes
and they
sense.
use a lot more.
Can I also say thank you for not making any of your beers taste like old gross pine cones?
How about new gross pine cones?
yeah. Well, I get it, but no, you guys really have, I think, really nailed the IPA category with these releases, and I love that you're putting out limited releases. Although I will be sad when this one goes away, but it really is cool though that it feels like there is regularly every month or two I'm finding a new St. Arnold product on the shelf, and you guys, at least here in our home city, have got effective enough distribution now that I'll see it pop up. I don't necessarily have to go to a mega beer department to find something new and different.
Definitely.
And it's always awesome when you see it. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, and this, by the way, this is really good. Did we show this can? Because this is available now, right?
It is available now in HEB, Kroger, Specs, all of our favorite places, plus to go from the beer garden as well. And it looks a little different, but you'll find it next to our beer. And kudos to those, retailers for buying into that kind of stuff and not just saying, oh, we just want your amber and Art Car.
Yeah, that is really cool, but I think you guys have had such a good track record of people wanting these new things that it makes it easier for the retailers to go, we'll stock it. We'll give it a try. So,
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, Ian, there has been a new study released, and there's a certain kind of beer drinker that is likely to be a more adventurous and open-minded kind of person. And I will tell you who exactly that beer drinker is when we return. Plus more St. Arnold to taste, and we got some tequila mi agave on the show. We'll get to that in just a moment. It's Smoking and Toasting. We'll be right back.
I think I need 6 more.
I just like, feeling like I'm part of the song. That's all. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We're so glad to have you guys here for show number 194, where we finally...
I still have the guitar and amp that I recorded that on.
Yeah, good to know. Good to know. We still have Drinking News coming up for you. Speaking of things that Ian's supposed to be working on recording, which is our musical intro for Drinking News.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay, talk
My
about it.
legs are sore.
What, you been riding your mountain bike? What have you been doing?
No, I wish. I've so as a musician, I'm not making any money.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I get it.
So I have been reflooring
Oh.
a house, and I got to tell you, my quads from getting up and down off of the floor for 3 days straight are just killing me. I got out of bed, I was doing the old man walk this morning. I was like, my legs,
No,
they're gonna be huge and ripped when I'm done.
I will tell you that I totally sympathize. I haven't done reflooring, but I spent a number of years laying terrazzo and tile when I was younger. So I get what you're talking
I'm
about.
doing pergo, but it's still up and down, up and down. Up and down.
What I don't understand is those quads that you're talking about. Is that something that you would use to write and record the Drinking News theme song?
No,
or-
I've been working other stuff that
Oh,
not music.
gotcha.
That's
Gotcha.
the bottom.
Is
Smoking
Music-
and
as a
smoking and
musician-
toasting isn't paying the bills.
As a musician,
Well,
like you were the first thing to go. Like I understand that everyone's worried about bartenders, but guess what? If bartenders aren't working, guess what musicians
Yeah.
are doing?
yeah. Well, usually when musicians can't find work,
They are
They
bartenders,
bartend,
right?
exactly. So that option's gone as well. Ian, there's a new study out that shows that fans of a particular kind of beer, a particular style, are thought to be more creative and more likely to take risks and do incredible things.
Is it macro brew light beer?
No.
Is it macro? No, sorry, I can't even go. on with it.
Can't come up with I'll tell you who it is, Ian. It's drinkers of IPAs and pale ales. Ta-da!
Stop.
No, this is
Stop.
a real study.
Slow down, Turbo. Listen, are you trying to tell me that people that drink the most popular craft beer style out there are the ones that take chances, not the ones that drink, I don't know, barley wines and barrel-aged beers and
According to a new-
sours
Look,
and...
I didn't write this. This is a study that's been.
I'm just going to point out
in case
that-
you haven't guessed, Lennie, we have kind of one IPA-centric
Yeah.
person on the show.
I'm
and
sorry.
one person who's.
If you're the guy that just drinks IPAs and you
What do
really
you mean
like
just drinks
I just
IPAs?
drink IPAs, so I'm creative. That seems like you're phoning it in. You know, like you're just. I
Well,
don't know.
despite according to the study, despite ale drinkers being perceived as calmer than their larger cousins, they still have an edge, scientists believe. The unexpected results of the study involve personality assessments and blind taste tests to discover links when it comes to bitterness in flavor. Researchers traditionally thought people who experience bitterness more intensely are more likely to avoid it and choose different taste. But a Penn State Sensory Evaluation Center study discovered that people who seek novel sensations and perceive bitter tastes more intensely are more likely to prefer bitter, pale ale style beers and IPAs and drink them more often. It's science, you know?
So
There's
Science,
always a
huh?
study.
And-
There's always
there's always a study.
I noticed that ESB wasn't on that list,
Yeah,
right?
well,
I
well,
like
I don't know.
ESBs a lot.
Cask ESB, one
and
of
in-
those people.
In fairness, you enjoy a good IPA,
It has to be a good IPA.
and I
yes.
enjoy a good barley wine. So long as it doesn't stick to my teeth when I'm done drinking it, I like it really well.
You know, I brought a Harvest Ale, like an old Harvest Ale, in at one point in time, and it had some floaties in it, and I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
scarred him for life.
I don't mind some sediment. Like I've had some great IPAs that have had a little bit of, sort of like hop sediment that have collected the bottom of the can.
That was also the last time he let me bring all the beers for the show, because I think the lightest beer I brought was at 8%. And then went up.
Yeah,
and it went
yeah.
up from there. So this beer, I'm guessing that you just poured, is a little higher ABV. Because this is but this is not a double, is it? It's a double dry hop.
So Art Car in and of
smells
itself
hoppy.
is, it is going to punch you in the face sometimes
Yes.
if you have enough.
What is a regular Art Car ABV? Do you
7.2, 7.3.
Right. Oh, is it
that
Yeah.
high?
So, but that's not unusual for an IPA.
No, it isn't. But it's bigger than Summer Pills or Lawnmower.
Right, sure.
So this is definitely not higher alcohol. So I'll just kind of take you through the trajectory on this. So
Okay.
I had to look it up because I couldn't remember. So it is double dry hopped with HBC 586. That's the name of the hop, and Galaxy, which is everybody knows that, which is one of those cool kid hops. But HBC 586 is kind of an experimental hop that that a hop grower has not named yet.
So that's why it has like one of those planets
Right.
that we haven't given a name yet. It just
Yes.
has like a designation.
So our plan was to release this in limited quantities at the beer garden. The brewers, they pull off some regular Art Car, and then they just do another dry hop run with those hops.
So it starts as Art Car,
starts
and then
as
they
Art
hop
Car.
it again with this
The
hop.
malt and hops are the same as Art Car, but they do another dry hop. We were going to release it this past Wednesday, and in the process, the Aaron, our brewing innovation guy, determined that the method that we were dry hopping did not come in contact with the beer enough for their liking. So what this is, it is the first run that employees got just because the brewers weren't happy with it. It's still a great beer, it's still art car, and it is still double dry hop, but just not to the level that the next round will be. So we did not release it. We scrapped it and are delaying it probably just until next week to do another run of that.
So when this comes out,
Yeah.
there will be a version of this come out, but
Yep.
it'll be the one that you've increased the contact between the hops and the beer. Is that what
the
you're
beer.
saying?
And I brought it because I thought, we can kind of drill down into what all that means.
I like it.
It's good.
It's
and
delicious.
There is certainly nothing wrong with it. But I think also, if I can kind of brag about us a little bit, is that we won't release anything unless we are absolutely 100% pleased with it. We're wasting a little bit of beer, but it's worth it for our guys to dial that in and be something that they are completely content with.
Are you gonna-
Again, not that this tastes bad.
Are you going to throw away all the beer?
See, that was the next thing. And we actually posted it earlier in the week on social media, just telling people we're not going to have it. And this is why. And we kind of went through the story of why. And people appreciate that. First of all, they're like, thanks, St. Arnold. You're only going to give us the best possible product. And then, of course, there are all the volunteers on, we'll take
By the way,
the
we'll be happy to
throwaways.
take one for the team.
Yeah.
About 60, 70 shows ago, we did a show where we were out having cigars on the outdoor area at the New Potato, which is one of Ian's haunts. And our guest on that show was the brewmaster from Lone Pint, who they make a spectacular IPA, the Yellow Rose, which is really good. And
A pioneer type beer. in
we were
fact,
very excited to have him on. He came with everything in growlers. And about, I don't know, maybe 2/3 of the way through the show, he poured this beer for us, and Ian and I tasted it, and we were like, and of course, we got a guest. We're going to be nice, but we were like, yeah, I don't like this one as much as the other. And how did he say it? He goes,
yeah, it's crap.
yeah, but he actually, I think he was doing it to test us, to see if we'd just kiss his ass because he was there. And
yeah, it's
we were
crap.
trying to be nice, but it was like, this one over here is terrific. This one over here was
But,
really good.
yeah.
And this one, maybe it's for other palate. But yeah, he but this is not that way at all. Like if this were available in the store just like this, I would buy some on my way home today.
Yeah, but wait till the new round, and it's
So
kind of
you're saying it'll be even better.
yeah, it will. It'll just punch up that dry hop, and it's kind of the art car label, but sort of
Can
a
we
green.
show that to the camera? Is that
where's right there?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So you won't see it on the store shelves. It'll be to go from the beer
Need to go
garden. But like a double art car, which is a double IPA version of art car, kind of has a red background where regular art car has a blue, and so this is green. Hops.
Did
green.
we talk about? I know we talked about this before the show, but have we talked about the recent changeover, which made you guys have to shut down the beer garden at least for now?
Yeah, we haven't yet. So as of this minute, and
Right.
I've checked my email to see if, because you never know if there's an update or not. Let's see.
People can always check your website for the latest, right?
Yes.
Let's background this a little bit. So
Okay,
what
yeah, you
happened
go-
is
you go
you
first.
guys at the brewery itself, you fell under the category of a restaurant because you sell more food than you do beer at the
beer garden
at the
itself.
beer garden
Sure, right.
restaurant.
Yep.
Which is a restaurant section of the brewery, and
Which is
not-
where the tow lot used to be,
right.
where the beer garden is.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd much rather come and give you money there
Yeah, I
than
know,
the guy
right?
I
Yes,
used to have to
very
give
much.
money to there. Yeah.
Very much. But then, what? 3 days ago? Is that right?
Yeah, I
3
first
days
found out
ago.
about it on Thursday that it could happen, and then
TABC was like, well, because you're not making so the law was that if you make 51% or more on your food, then you're allowed to be open because you're a restaurant.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden TABC comes along and says, well, wait a second, we're going to include all of your beer sales, not just your on-premises,
So
which
this-
I'm assuming you have to run as a different business anyway.
it's
or
sort of
close to it.
It's kind of getting in the weeds a little bit on
But-
that, but
But then they
Yeah.
include all of your beer sales, including everything that goes out to
Everything you
stores
sell
and
at
everything
Kroger,
else.
everything
and now
you sell
all of a
at-
sudden
at
you can't
Specs,
run
yeah.
your restaurant
right. So basically,
which is ridiculous.
And it's an outdoor area.
and we have not even opened our indoor
Right.
part of the restaurant because we're not comfortable with it. And the outdoor area, so we've probably been operating at like 30 to 40 maybe percent capacity anyway.
Keeping people spread out
And honestly, it has not really been a money maker for us to have it open, even because it's really been a way to keep as many people
Keep your
employed
employees
as
working,
possible.
yeah.
right.
Our employees keep people, the responsible thing, keep people off the unemployment ranks and whatever. And we were told that it was a new interpretation from the governor's office. The TABC was told to enforce it. So as of this recording, we are not allowed to be open in our beer garden.
That's just crazy and seems like and yet
Interpretation of the law.
I
love that.
I saw like a national news thing about places where the people are concerned about potential high rates of infection from the virus, and they used a nightclub from right here in downtown Houston and showed photos that somebody had shared on their social media account of people all crammed in there together, dancing and drinking at the bar. And this was after they'd closed bars again in Houston, and apparently contacted for comment. The bar owner said, well, we have a restaurant license.
So my buddy Paul over at the New Potato he's got a tiny bar.
Right.
Like his bar might be double the size of this studio. Okay.
Right.
Which is
It's
not
small.
enormous. And as far as a bar
Most
goes,
people
it's
hang out
really
outside
small.
at the New Potato.
But he's got this huge outdoor area, this huge yard, all these picnic tables and everything, and everything's spread way out. But he's not allowed to run.
Right.
You can't go there and be 30 feet from the next person at his place because he's not allowed to open.
Right. Yeah. It's a bummer. And listen, I'm all about trying to stay safe. I mean, like we were saying at the beginning of the show, I barely go outside my apartment door at this point. But it's just a bummer when things aren't enforced equally. It's kind of like the regulations they were trying to enforce on premium cigars, because kids were going and buying, cigarillos at the convenience stores and stuff.
And watermelon flavored Philly blunts.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the same. It's not the same thing. Well, okay, so just back to this beer.
Yes.
What will this be called when it comes out?
Double dry hopped Art Car, and we'll announce it, but it could be next week if they were happy with it.
You have a double Art Car that's available in stores now.
Correct.
That's in the red can.
Red can double Art Car, which is over 8%. Actually, it's 9.1%, I think.
Nice.
So it's a bigger version of Art Car and a little maltier. Almost
that one.
reminiscent somewhat of like the old school double IPAs that used to be around even more, but with a lot of the fruit punch that Art Car's hops will give you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to taste a barley wine style ale, perhaps,
Sure.
and we
Yes.
have some tequila to taste. Plus, I want to get
That was the
information.
wrong one.
Yeah, we're always super high tech with the sound effects, and sometimes it just goes the way it's
That
going
was
to go.
user error.
That was our version of this isn't the beer we want to release. We'll have to just
Right,
give this
yeah.
to the employees. So when we come back, we'll talk tequila a little bit. We'll talk barley wine, and then I want to get some information on the whole Divine Reserve thing and
Sure.
the Bishop's Barrel, because that's part of what makes us as people who live here in Houston really proud of the fact that we're here and that we're represented in this kind of stellar brewery fashion.
I didn't think about it. I should have brought some of mine because mine are getting. I have some in the fridge that should probably.
It's
should probably
time.
start.
Probably be
It's
consumed.
time. Yeah.
Some of the 15s and 14s and things
Yeah,
like
that.
yeah. I think it's about time. All right, so we'll be right back, and we'll talk barley wine and Divine Reserve and Bishop's Barrel. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, it's getting time.
Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 194. This program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My name is Cruz, my co-host Ian Barry. We have Adam on the Wheels of Steel, our erstwhile producer, and our guest in the studio, Lennie Ambrose from St. Arnold. So, Lennie, I definitely do not want to wait another 194 shows before we have you come back again. So so let's schedule something soon and have you return. So
I've got nothing to do. Just
okay,
let me
perfect.
know.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, before Ian pops the top on our tequila, which we're about to do, it's time to do something we try to do at least once per show, and that is drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
You
Go,
could
baby.
get like actual music for that
Well,
if you wanted
well,
to.
see, here's the thing, Lennie. I keep asking Ian to, because he's the musician,
Right, yeah.
to come up with a theme song for drinking news. And the way that I keep driving this point home to him is I'm going to keep doing
it's
that.
working.
I'm going to keep doing that until he has the opportunity to
Too many
create
floors.
us a real.
It's
He doesn't
working.
have
Exactly.
laying too many floors.
It's going to work eventually.
One day I'll be able to make money doing music again.
Drinking News is a segment on the program where we bring you a story that may or may not be about drinking, but is one that you probably will enjoy even more if you are drinking. And, of course, we don't do that segment until we've started with the drinking, and we've been doing some of that with some really
Do
great...
you want me to pour while you're doing this?
Yeah, why don't you? Go ahead and pop that top and... Ooh, nice.
yeah,
that
good.
worked.
Did you
that
hear
worked.
the scrunchies that were going
Yeah,
on
the
there when I was
scrunchies were
pouring it?
really
Scrunch,
good.
scrunch, scrunch.
They were really good. There's a fish that has been discovered. Scientists and experts are trying to identify this mystery sea creature because the fish has human teeth. Adam, if you will, post.
Nothing creepy about that.
Let's post the picture, and you guys, because of the delay in this, you won't see this come up on your feed the same way. So I'll just show it to you here. This is the photo that Adam is posting. There is the fish with human teeth. Now, let me just say, this is not photoshopped, at least to the best of my knowledge. It's not fake news, at least to the best of my knowledge.
That is from something called the Daily Star.
Well, okay, then maybe the Daily Star.
Have you
is,
ever been in a grocery store and looked?
I've never,
right?
I've never looked and seen a fish with human teeth.
Is
in
that
a grocery
Bat
store.
Kid right next to it with the ears and what were
Are
the
you talking about the hot sheets?
Yeah, that's what that looks like.
It's been identified as a triggerfish, and it's apparently common around Malaysia. Now, you guys remember the snakehead fish, right? Because that was a thing for a while. Remember the snakehead fish was like it was swimming up into like rivers and streams, and it was like this fish that looked kind of like an eel, and it was eating all the other fish and destroying the ecosystem. Well, okay, so this may be an article in the Daily Star, but this triggerfish, according to National Geographic, they've got a little credibility, right?
Is that with an X at the end? Geographics?
Yeah.
It's one of those fake.
At National Geographic Prize.
Right. Yes.
No, they
Dude,
said
that's totally photoshopped. There's no way.
they say these fish are famous for charging at intruders, and that includes other sea creatures as well as human divers. They use their tough teeth and powerful jaws to fight sea urchins and crabs, but their bite can also puncture diving suits. Is Wiki Brian with us today?
I haven't seen him on
If
here
he
today.
is, Brian, please look this up and back me up, because
Dude, that looks so photoshopped. There's no way.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe
So
it is fake
I have these dental treats for my dog, right? And you notice on the picture of the dog on the front,
dog's got those
the
smiling
dog's
teeth.
got human teeth,
Yeah,
which
that
is creepy to me, by the way. And I can only think that they did this as an advertising thing because they thought, a smiling dog with canine teeth might look a little intimidating, but it's creepier with human teeth, and that's got to be photoshopped.
This is even creepier than the dog.
It's
with
really,
human
really
teeth.
awkward to look
Yeah,
at. Like
yeah.
it makes me feel weird inside.
They had
Okay.
to redo the whole Sonic movie because of the teeth. The Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, Sonic
movie.
the Hedgehog, really?
The animated
What was
movie.
what was the problem with the
first,
teeth?
Because they looked too human, that they had to reanimate all the facial
the
things in the
teeth.
movie because it kind of looked like that.
Well, I'll watch it now. I wasn't going to watch it before.
Well,
because
there's
of the
what
teeth.
is
Teeth
the,
are weird.
It's a psychological thing that the closer it looks to human but slightly off, the scarier it actually is.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And
Because when you look at this photo, one of the things that makes it look kind of human is that the teeth aren't perfectly straight. It looks like a kid that might need braces.
but look at the
You know?
lips on that thing. That is not right. That's totally photoshopped.
It says it's not. I mean, I don't know. I know. Listen, if it's
What's
on the internet,
what's the actress from Pretty Woman? That's her lips.
That's Julie Roberts.
Julie Roberts' lips or something, right?
Hey, listen, if it's on the internet, it must be true.
That's true.
Okay.
Damn, this tequila is delicious.
Oh, you've already tasted
By the
the
way,
tequila.
Yeah.
Remember the vanilla bean from the
Holy, I know, right?
Yeah.
the raspberry sour? This takes that to the next level.
It really does.
Okay, so Ian,
the smell.
let's
is-
show this bottle since we don't have Mr. Twirligig running today. Let's
This here is
let's
the
show the bottle. This is
Tequila
tequila
Mi
mi
Agave.
agave. Yep, and it's an añejo.
Made by Agustin Sanchez is the distiller.
And it's not vanilla tequila.
No, it's not
just
flavored. This is very. You know, this is really delicious and super smooth. And I'll tell you, this is between $30 and $40 a bottle. So it's not like a super high ultra end. It's not the cheapest tequila you can buy. But you know what I get on this is almost like a caramel. We mention caramel as a flavor sometimes in things, but this almost is like, remember those caramel candies that used to come wrapped in cellophane that your grandmother would have? It almost has that. It's a caramel
Those overly
sweetness.
sticky ones?
Yeah,
kinda?
right.
Yeah.
The flavor was great, but they would get stuck to your teeth and you'd take you like an hour to eat one.
Your jaws would get stuck together because you'd mess
But
with
this
I
has got
like it.
a little of that flavor.
I like the smell of it more than I like the flavor.
This is almost too sweet.
It is about the
If you
sweetest
ask-
tequila
yes.
that I've had.
And
I like
it's
it,
weird
though.
because it's sweet with pepper in the background.
Right.
Really
Yeah.
sweet with
There
pepper
is
in the background.
there is definitely some pepper on the palate, no question.
The
Interesting.
agave flavor is actually one of the least influential things in
You
this.
get a little tiny bit of it on the very beginning, and then that caramel and vanilla kind of takes over.
Also, the heat in this tequila happens right in the middle of the palate and then goes away and then barely comes back with a little warmth at the very
There's
end.
very little tequila hug. You're right. Very interesting. Well, this is a great tequila, I think. Oh, nicely done.
That was awesome.
This is a great tequila, I think, for people who maybe have somebody who says, "Oh, I can't do tequila. I don't like to." This would be a good one to bring them into the fold on. I like this a lot.
I'm gonna sing a song for this next beer. Barley wine, gonna drink us some barley wine. How's that?
I agree with your decision to do the tequila and then to the barley wine.
Well, that's one of the
actually
reasons,
works.
that I wanted to address these together because sometimes with these bigger beers, it's really fun to go back and forth with the spirit and see how one influences the other. So that's the fun thing about our final
Roasty,
segment here on
dark, raisiny.
Ian. There's a little bit of a problem with my tequila cup.
Did you break your tequila?
I think
cup?
I must have had a crack in the bottom of it or something because
It's leaking
it
all
seems to
over
be
the
leaking.
place.
Perhaps you can help. All right, so now Lennie, this is a St. Arnold barley wine. Is this something that I don't recall ever seeing a barley wine from you guys on the shelves, at least labeled as such?
right?
No, because it's always been the Divine Reserve of
Right.
Bishop's Barrel.
It was the first Divine Reserve was a barley wine, and then there were some other ones peppered in there as well, and then some Bishop's Barrels were barley wines as well. But let's see, our 20th anniversary beer was a barley wine.
Okay.
So that was more labeled as like 20th anniversary, and then our Grand Cru, which was our
I have one of those in
anniversary
my
beer.
fridge.
That was a blend, but it had barley wine in it as part of it.
Okay.
But yeah, this is. I think Brock has always had kind of a fondness for sort of like malty beers and older styles and things like that. So barley wine is definitely that. Aged in bourbon barrels, and I pulled up the stats so Aaron doesn't get mad that I got it wrong. It was 19 months in early times bourbon barrels.
Early times. Okay.
So 12.4%.
Wow.
So
It's big, yeah.
remember when I brought a barley wine onto the show? I think we were at downtown at the cigar shop at
at McCoy's?
McCoy's,
Yeah.
and it was another local brewery. We opened it, and it was terrible. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to name
Right.
whoever it was,
But I know what you're talking about.
but it was a very, very American or New England style or whatever they did to it, Americanized barley wine, very hoppy and ridiculous. This is the exact opposite of that. This is what I expect.
This is what you're looking for.
Style
This is
barley
exactly
wine.
what I expect in a barley wine, and this is absolutely outstanding.
Great. That's good news.
So one of the things that put St. Arnold Brewery on the map with like crazy devoted beer fans was the release, the beginning of Divine Reserve. You said the very first one was a barley wine, correct?
Wine, yep.
So when you guys started Divine Reserve, St. Arnold went from, that's a really cool brewery that makes some great beers, to the kind of thing that people started lining up outside of the stores as they would open on the day of a Divine Reserve release. How did that, walk us through how that happened. How did you go from, this is really cool, we love their beers, to I'm going to camp out outside of Specs to make sure I get a 6-pack of Divine Reserve on the day it's released? What happened?
Brock wanted to do limited runs, bigger beers, and so he kind of came up with it to do that. And the first run was just 100 cases or something, really small, and he thought it would be a few weeks to kind of run through it at the store level, and it sold really well. And then we sort of kept doing them, and then I think right around like Divine Reserve 4 or 5. It really started to kind of take off. And then I think the beer that eventually became Pumpkinator, which was Divine Reserve 9, was, I think that even kind of was like the next level of like super lining up, media coverage about it. And then it just sort of grew from there. And it was just our chance to kind of play, and it was usually bigger beers. But honestly, it has sort of outlived its usefulness.
Well,
and
I was going to say, it used to be you couldn't, if you weren't in line on the day of a Divine Reserve release, you were out of luck.
Yep.
Now I can find Divine Reserve when it comes out at my little local Phoenicia store downstairs in my building.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't know you lived there. That's cool.
I buy it, and it's delicious, by the way. I've yet to buy one and be disappointed ever in Divine Reserve.
And it just got to a point where it was sitting a little bit, and so we've kind of shifted our focus, and it doesn't mean Divine Reserve's done forever. Same with Bishop's Barrel. We may not have a Bishop's Barrel release this year. We may just kind of do it as a barley wine, instead of under the Bishop's Barrel to go from the beer garden and restaurant. So,
I know where we're heading after
yeah,
the show.
I know, right? If you do, I'll say this, and I had one piece of it like running out the door because someone had one when I was at the brewery, and I'm not in the brewery. If you go, trust me, our mushroom pizza is life-changing. It is a world-class mushroom pizza. Get a mushroom pizza with a barley wine, and it's a great combo, I promise.
I will actually just feel like a hobbit at that point.
That'd be great, won't it?
I don't know why that makes me feel like that.
So this is terrific, and this is these come in the bombers as well?
Yeah, they're 500 milliliter bottles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ian, I want to challenge you to do this. Take a drink of that barley wine, and then I want you to go back to the tequila. If your experience is like mine, it flattens out the sweetness almost completely. You still get the vanilla. You still get a little of the caramel, but you don't get that same sort of sweeter
It's
aftertaste.
not a sticky sweet, yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's
the
a really
barley
nice
wine
combo.
is sticky sweet in the best way. Like, you could actually pour this barley wine between two pieces of wood and stick them together for life. And I mean that in the most endearing and wonderful way. This is so good.
What I like about it is it makes those dried fruit flavors that are part of what barley wine is usually all about, it makes them so drinkable. I don't know how to say it another way.
Yeah.
It just makes them so easy to, you don't feel like you've got to like pause after you take a drink of it. It's like, wow, that was really good. Let me try that again.
And I think the nose on the barley wine is sort of like how y'all were describing some of the cigars earlier on. You get like tobacco, you get the stone fruit flavor or a nose when you smell the barley wine.
What is a bottle of that cost?
$16 for the barley wine, and then
so broke.
and Will Floor for barley wine. You should.
That's right.
You should have a new
Right?
shirt.
I know how to do Pergo now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And
just think of it this way, Ian. If you calculate how much you make from one section of Pergo, then you can calculate how how much you have to do to equal one barley wine.
That's right.
Yeah?
Barley wine is life.
That's right.
I'm charging 600 barley wines for
So,
this.
so Divine Reserve, you don't have another one planned right now.
No, just taking a break, and we'll see.
Bishop's Barrel is the same at the moment.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
have like a beer under the Bishop's Barrel banner right now.
It's interesting because a lot of times that's what you would be expecting as the new St. Arnold, and you weren't releasing new beers kind of in your main line as often. Now you're doing more new beers in your main line more frequently, and it's I guess gives you an opportunity to approach it that way. How do you compete? And I know that, listen, in the craft brewery world, it seems like everybody, for the most part, remains very friendly competitors. You know, we've yet to have anyone on from any brewery that didn't have good things to say about other breweries that they like and respect. But that said, this is a business for you guys, and you want to do as best as you can and keep your employees employed. And how do you compete with the up-and-comers, with the guys that, setting aside the pandemic for a moment, the biggest change in craft brewing was the really small guys who would open up.
Yeah.
They do a great great little lineup of beers, and they'd have a tap room and serve some food, and people would go there and play cornhole and horseshoes, and it would become a destination, and maybe a few bars in the vicinity would put them on tap, and that's where most of the craft beer new guys were coming from. How do you compete with this every day? There's a new brewery opening and a new style or a new innovation of craft brewing hitting the shelves from a competitor.
By doing this stuff, so releasing these kinds of beers and new stuff a lot, and then, but more importantly, is dumping a batch if it isn't right and making sure that everything is to your standards. And over the long run, that pays dividends.
Does it put you in a place where you say, instead of just focusing on the core line, we need to focus on new limited runs more often? Is that a more of a current strategy, I guess?
Yeah, it is at 100%. Yes, that innovation team has a lot of stuff in the pipeline. We were just looking at a sheet of like 6 or 8 different things that are going to be coming out over the next year or so. And I think that is, again, with like Art Car was kind of this, it's like BA and A after AA. So before Art Car and after Art Car.
So that's
timeline.
really the sort of pivotal point in St. Arnold's
That's
development.
how I look at it. I don't know that we necessarily like said that out loud at the brewery. But I think everybody kind of thinks that because that just sort of set us on a new course. And that was right around when a lot of breweries were still opening up. And without that, I don't really know where we would be. But it kind of has set forth doing other new styles and trying new
even just the
things.
design of the can, although you still had St. Arnold on it, but it was the first can design or bottle design that looked really different.
Yeah,
other than your
local
Divine Reserve
artists,
stuff. Yeah,
pulling in Gonzo to do that, and just kind of taking a chance, and it's really paid off.
The local support from St. Arnold has been absolutely fantastic too, and there's always like the one pot and
Yeah,
things like that
hopefully we
going
can
on
do
with you
those
guys, yeah.
events. I
And
mean,
you guys recently did the thing with the dog food where you were giving away pet food, which was really cool.
Which, we had a big pet organization that got a giant delivery of free food. So it's right now it's trying to find ways to engage people in ways that you can, because everything else we do is just not happening. We would have had the 4,000 person downtown pub crawl this weekend. And Feast of St. Arnold would have been this weekend.
Right.
And now we're even looking at, I don't think Oktoberfest is probably going to happen, and what is even the rest of the year. So,
and how does that's got to affect you in a sales way too, because those events, you sell a great deal of beer at those events.
Yeah, we do. For us, we have the advantage of selling beer at H-E-B, Kroger, and Specs, and that is up for us.
How far is your distribution?
Just all over Texas and then all over Louisiana, and that's it. And so that's why we are in a different position, thankfully, than some of the breweries that just sell from their tap room. And I know a lot of them are really struggling because they may have a couple draft accounts here
Right.
and there, but those places are probably closed.
Right.
And then they count on the tap room business. John Holler at Holler Brewing is a good friend of mine. And, he's like hustling every second of every
Sure.
day to just,
Try and sell a
have
beer, yeah.
a penny.
Well, and I will just say this. We've said this repeatedly on the show. We'll say it again. If you are a fan of craft beer, if you want these guys to be able to continue to make this stuff for you going forward, pick out your 1 or 2 or 3 favorite ones and go. Pick up their beer at your...
Buy the beer, buy the T-shirt.
Yeah, buy it. If it's in the stores, buy it in the stores. If it's not in the stores, go and support these guys by buying it to go from the breweries. And at least
Yep.
here in Texas, they can do that now, which is
We can.
has been a really good thing. Lennie, several years ago, St. Arnold was named Mid-Size Brewer of the
Yeah.
Year. How did that happen, and what did it mean for you guys?
That's one of those things that it's not like you're nominated for it, so you're kind of expecting it.
It's not like the Oscars where you
Yeah,
got a
right.
1 in 5 chance of winning
They
the
like
award.
me. They
That really
like
is
me.
just like at the Great American Beer Festival. We won the most medals that year, and so you go in not even that even being on your mind, and we won the most medals out of thousands and thousands of breweries.
And is that why you were named Mid-Size Brewer?
Correct.
Because your medal count was
Yep,
the highest.
medal count was the highest. That's how they tabulate it, and so we won it, and that was a huge thing for us. And I think that maybe even kind of another thing that I was going to say, like Art Car, and then some of the releases sort of turned that corner for us from being like an old hat brewery or I've had their
right.
beer.
It kind of kept you current and interesting in a current way.
Right,
Yeah.
and almost to be sort of like the godfather of craft beer, because there's a really fine line of being old and tired and old hat and being like the godfather type.
Right.
You can be in one line one day and the other line the other.
Well, I think it's what the Sam Adams and guys like that are struggling with. It's like
Yeah.
Yep.
it's like I mean, they make great beer. They blazed a path that others could follow, and yet it's maybe in the current beer environment, people don't get as excited about a new Sam Adams release as they do about something from a younger, hipper brewery. So it really is, I think, a struggle. And I just want to say, from where I sit, I don't know anything about the financials, but from where I sit, it feels like you guys are navigating that in a really
guys-
really
That's good to know.
successful
You guys
way.
keep your hands in the community and current trends too.
Yeah.
And you need an IPA that's going to be, fitting this slot, like you said earlier, and you came out with Art Car, which is an outstanding drinkable IPA that competes, world class with anything else. So it's really, really, really cool that you can keep staying ahead of that. And then your limited releases. I'm such a fan of your seasonals. Like, I'll be honest with you, your seasonals are some of my favorite beers in existence.
Oh,
From
let's just talk about Oktoberfest for a minute.
Oktoberfest.
Oh my God!
Any day now, Oktoberfest.
it's like-
will be
I
out
am so
almost.
excited for that. Like,
it's
that
like
is.
it's one of those things where Ian and I will actually text each other. I found Oktoberfest.
If you go back and listen to the episodes that correspond to when Oktoberfest is released to when it's ended, you will hear me talk about Oktoberfest, and then for the next month afterwards, I'm sad that Oktoberfest
Oktoberfest
is.
gone.
But then I get happy because then Christmas Tale comes out.
Right. That's absolutely right. No, your seasonals really have been
I'm
spectacular.
a huge fan of the seasonals, especially,
Good.
and I think
Thanks.
that's awesome that you have them. And it's kind of fun that you don't have them year round, because I look forward
gives
to
you something
the
to look
summer
forward to,
pills.
yeah.
I look forward to Oktoberfest. I look forward to the St.
It's Springbok.
Christmas.
Springbok.
Man. I tried to destroy that this year too.
Well,
I actually bought a keg to put in my kegerator when it came out.
that's
Drank it.
awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Well, Lennie, this has been a real pleasure for us, and like I said, long overdue. We won't wait this long again. Last question for you. We saw the huge trend towards IPAs, and first it was the New Englands, and then it was the hazies and juicies, and that's obviously still continuing to be a thing. But that was a big trend, and then we saw the trend towards more lower calorie, lower carbohydrate, sessionable stuff. Any idea of what you think might be the next trend? No?
Barley wines are going to be huge.
Barley wines are already.
That's actually never going
A
to happen.
sessionable low-cal barley wine. Would
Okay,
be
you heard it first
giant,
here, ladies
right,
and gentlemen.
in a clear can. I really think that's just going to be
a clear can.
A clear can. Or a paper container.
a paper
perhaps.
Can.
Yeah,
But, it is hard to even imagine. Like, what could
know.
possibly be next? But it'll be something.
Yeah,
What's a near barley wine?
And when hazy IPAs came out, all of us were like, "That looks so gross. Who would want that? Why?" And sometimes we at St. Arnold, we kind of sit back a little bit and let things develop, and then we'll kind of come out with ours a little bit down the road. And I don't mind that position.
You did mention you've got like 6, 7, 8 things in development that are next for you guys.
Yeah, some things people have had at the beer garden before, so it's releasing some kind of favorites that were draft only at the beer garden, and then some is just kind of taking some chances. Some are those things that the R&D team, they sort of bring in and just, why don't you try this?
Things that might have been a Bishop's Barrel or a Divine?
No, these are kind of some lower alcohol stuff. It's more like one's a sour IPA. So I don't know if you've had a sour IPA. There's some here and there. So just
I would love to see you guys come up with a light beer that's good and drinkable.
Give it a little bit.
Okay.
So in the next couple months, we'll have we've tested the waters. We released Backyard is just what the name we threw on it for Memorial Day.
Right.
So it's a low cal session IPA, and we are drinking some of that today. So you may see that in kind of wider distribution.
Well, we sure appreciate you coming on the show, and let's definitely not wait another 194 episodes to have you back. We would love to have you back. And you know what? Just think about this. If you decide to do, no matter how limited, a run of Sailing Santa,
okay,
it's a guaranteed booking. We'll have you on we'll bump somebody else if necessary.
You will sell at least 4 to 6 bottles.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, depending. If you do it in
It's a
bombers,
very
4 to 6
small run.
bottles, but a couple 6-packs each.
Yeah, for sure. and as we want to make sure you understand, and we have the numbers to stand behind this. Smoking and Toasting does in fact directly influence sales, and you should see that in your barley wine here in the next couple of hours.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Get a mushroom pizza. I'm telling you.
It is my job to have dinner ready tonight. So.
There you go.
I'm seeing a plan forming. Okay, so if all goes well, on next week's show, we will be bringing you a Reposado blind taste test for National Tequila Day. So we'll be looking forward to that. And we do want to say, by the way, a very quick thanks to our special guest from last week, who was so absolutely awesome. We had Samuel Fitch from Florida Cognac
That guy
on.
was
And he was awesome. They outdid themselves with the in-studio display.
Yes.
They brought in a little working volcano, and it was like made my...
I mean, we're not judging you or anything.
No, not at all.
Man.
How can you judge a guy who brought these beers?
He brought a volcano in.
But anyway, thank you to Samuel and to our friend Hamilton who
Those
who
guys
made
are
that all
so
happen.
great. They're so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks so much, and we look forward to the time when we can come back and hang out at the brewery again, because that's always so much fun.
Please do.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, it's Smoking and Toasting. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks to everybody for spreading the word. Don't forget to like us and subscribe on YouTube and all the other good places. And thanks to Adam on the Wheels of Steel. Have a great week, my friends, and cheers.
Cheers.
Got anything left, Lennie? There we
I
go.
do.
I think we should probably
I've finished my barley wine.